Hi everybody, it's day 2 of my Mistral Take-Off restoration. Today I'm going to be taking a look at this little hole that I've got in the bottom of the board. It's not, I don't think it needs a lot of sort of structural repair. I think it's more about just making it waterproof. So I'm going to dig it out a little bit and then I'm going to fill it with, I'm using this Norglass brand. If you can see it here, it's a 2-part epoxy. This one's actually white. So I'm sure it'll be a different color than the actual board. I'll have to look at, maybe doing some color matching spray later. But for today, we're just going to dig it out. I'm going to put the epoxy in and we'll go from there. So I'll just angle the camera down so you can see what's going on. So this is the hole. Something sharp is obviously pushed in on it and it's pushed all of the surface material into it. So I'm just going to start by digging it out. Just using a screwdriver. So dig out the loose bits. And we'll see what's underneath. Okay. Kind of a chunk there. At least there's no sort of water damage under there, which is great. There's another piece here I think I can get out. I was actually tempted to see if I could sort of glue these pieces back in, but I want to make sure it's waterproof, so try and do the right thing here. Okay, there's one piece here that I think I can save, but it's got some cracks down each side of it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to dig those out a little bit. I'll fill those, and of course I will fill a hole in the middle here. So I've got this little kind of Dremel type tool here. I'm just going to see if I can open up these cracks on the side here a touch. Might be one other tiny little crack I can see here. I'll just to be sure it's like a hairline. So I'm trying to save as much of the board material as possible, but I'm also trying to have a surface where some of my epoxy will actually bed in. So I've just kind of dremeled out a little slot there and a little spot on the side here. Just pushing these pieces down. Everything looks good inside. Now before I go too far, I just want to make sure that we're sort of got a flat surface here. So I feel like it's just raised up a touch on this corner. I'm just going to push it down. I might have to dig under there a little bit. Worst case, I'll do a bit of extra sanding once I put all of this stuff in. But overall, it looks pretty good. Now, I do have some fiberglass mesh here, and I really don't know whether I honestly need it. I might just cut a piece and put it in there. Again, this is not it's not super important that this is structurally super strong. That's a lot of supers, but yeah, let's just put a little piece in. Now, as I said, I am actually going to use a 2-part epoxy. I'm not using traditional fiberglass for this one. And this is more of a filler. It's actually called Norfill, and it's 2 parts to 1 part mix. So it's a little bit different than a straight up glue type like fiberglass or whatever. So this is a little bit thicker. I expect it to go in a little bit thicker. I use this stuff a lot on my other boards, on my other Mistral boards, just for little scratches or little cracks, anywhere where I'm fearful there might have been a bit of water, might have gotten in somewhere. So let's open it up. As I say, it's going to be 2 parts of the base to 1 part of the hardener. And you can actually see here, it's quite thick. So really, I don't think this is necessary at all, this underlying stuff I put in, but it's too late. It's already in there, so let's just go with it. So I've actually got to dig this out. See how thick it is. So you don't see a lot of people using this on other YouTube videos. Maybe somebody will write to me in the comments and tell me why, or maybe I'm going to find out why. But people tend to use just straight resins a lot more, but you can see how thick this stuff is, right? Really thick. So I'll just put that in there. I'll open up the hardener. The hardener is also pretty thick. Let me just break off a bit of my stirring stick here. Now you can see that as well. So 2 parts to 1 part. Yes, I'm being a little bit, I'm just kind of estimating by looking at it here as to exactly what's 2 to 1. I think I need to do a little bit more of the base in there. I've got way more than I'm going to require for this particular repair. Oh, it's so messy, this stuff. Okay. I'm going to mix it up here. Now, I've used this a few times before, as I say, just for little scratches. I've never actually done anything with quite as big a fill as this. Kind of interested to see if I can actually get it into the damaged area there without pulling up the little bit of fiberglass that I put in. One thing I do recall about this stuff is it actually seems to take quite a while to set. So I'm going to mix it really well. And as you saw, I just kind of eyeballed it in terms of the actual amounts that I put together. I feel I was definitely heavy on the hardener. I put a little more of the hardener than what they recommend. So here we go. I'm just putting it in the damaged area. Kind of got to work it in. And those little grooves I cut with the Dremel, I'm just trying to work it into those as well. Okay, so one of the things I'm noticing here is it is really trying to pull away that piece I put inside. So, you know what? I think I'm going to remove it. I don't think it's adding any value at all with this particular material. I think if I was using just straight fiberglass, it'd be a different story, but this I believe I can just apply straight into the damaged area. So that's what we're going to do. Let's have another go. Okay, I feel this will stick a lot better. I'll be able to work it in. And I'm not worried about pulling up that mesh because the stuff is really just wasn't soaking into the mesh like it does with a traditional fiberglass resin. Okay, so I can tell you that this area is now definitely watertight. Just keep working away at it a little bit here. It's like a tiny little bit of mesh here I want to get out. You can see how sticky it is. It's like chewing gum, right? There we go. That was not adding any value at all. Now the other thing I do recall from this is that it dries really hard. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape. I'm going to see if I can actually wipe it and get it as flat as possible. So I guess normally you just use a masking tape or something for this. I don't have any with me, so I'm just using a little bit of this cloth tape or duct tape, gaffer tape. Okay, now I'm going to try and I'm actually going to use my chisel here and see if I can pull some of this stuff forward and see if it pulls out of the hole, or whether I can actually get some sort of something that looks like a flat finish. Okay, well, we did pretty much get a flat finish there, so I'm pretty pleased about that. And come back the other way. All right, so it's looking pretty good. It's not quite level, so it will need to be leveled a little bit more, but you know, we're very close. I'm going to try and get a little bit more in a spot here. It's one of the grooves I dug. Get a little in there, and I'm going to get a little more up that end there where it's a bit low. So I got myself something that's a little bit closer to a proper scraper. See how we go. I'm trying to be lazy here and get this in one, but I don't think that's quite going to happen. I am going to have to come back and fill it, but so the thickness of this this filler is both it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Okay, let me move the camera so you can see where we're up to here. This is what it looks like. These are the pieces that came out, and obviously I'm going to have to fill that. I'll probably sand it first, then I will fill it. And then we'll take a look at the color. The rest of the board, it's probably close to the original color, the white, but the board has yellowed. So, you know, I might have to look at getting a little bit of paint to try and kind of match the yellowing. But that's going to be a minor problem. At least the board will be usable again. And yeah, I'll get back to you with the next part of this once it's all dry. Okay, so day 2, it's actually probably about 3 days since I made the previous video, but it's what I'm calling day 2. We're going to put a second coat of filler onto this first part of the fix that I've done on the hull. I'm hoping this really is just to take out the bumps from the original fill, and then we'll let it sit, we'll sand it, and we'll be done with this repair. So I'm kind of excited to get this one done. I'm going to aim the camera down. So this is what it looks like after it's dried. This stuff is super hard. And remember, what I'm using again is the Norfill filler. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix up a small amount just so I can level this out a little bit. This is the 2-to-1. Got the hardener here, and then the base. So we'll get a little bit of the base material out. You see how thick it is. You know, it being so thick it's kind of cool, but I'm a little bit worried as I do this part of the job that I'm going to have trouble working it into some of these little cracks, because they really are pretty small. So about 2-to-1 again. I'm just sort of eyeballing it. It's like chewing gum that's been left out on a hot day. So that's it. I'm going to let this dry now. What I will probably do is, when this gets sort of tacky, as it's not quite hard yet, I might go and get like a thin blade from a Stanley knife or a box cutter knife, and just using that thin blade, I might just slide it along the surface just to take any of the ridges off. And that's just going to save me a little bit of sanding later on. Now, of course, I could just wait and just sand it down flat. At the moment, it's rough. You know, you can see, you know, where I've wiped it all in. I'll just put it down again so you can see. But the idea is that, yeah, I might just kind of scrape the top off as it starts to dry. It'll just save me a bit of time sanding later, or I'll just leave it and I'll sand it. So it's been about probably about 7 hours, and the epoxy here on the board is still slightly tacky, but it's definitely curing or hardening. So I just want to show you what I'm going to do so I don't have to sand this back too much. I'm just going to use this little blade here and just take the high parts off. This just saves me some work when it comes time to sand. So we'll just let this harden up properly now for a day or two, and then we'll just give it a final sand, and we'll look at some color matching. Color's not too bad, so we'll see what the final product looks like and whether it needs to be painted or not. It's been a few days since I put this epoxy on, and today I'm going to do a bit of final sanding of this this mark on the Take-Off. I'm just going to tape it off a little bit, especially where the graphic is. And then we're going to hit it with some sandpaper. You can see it's come up pretty good here. I'm just going to hit it now with a little bit of wet and dry. I'm going to start at one of the coarser grades, which will be, when it comes to the wet and dry, it'll be a 400. I'm just going to bring this down to an 800. I'm going to jump down to a 2000, so this is really, really fine. And this is pretty much the repair. I'm going to leave it. The board, as you've seen before, is not perfect. You know, it's got plenty of marks all over it, and I'm not going to try and, you know, make it perfect. But let me show you. You'll see in the repair here. The color match is actually not bad, surprisingly. There we go. You can just see a few spots where there were air bubbles and things like that. Look, it feels really smooth. I'm not going to try and do too much more with it, because as you can see, the rest of the board It's got plenty of marks on it and discolorations and that. This is perfectly functional, feels good, looks good. I'm going to leave it like that. We'll call that job done.